this public hearing of September 16th, 2014, 6 p.m. to order. And we need roll call, please.
Linda Bailey.
Here.
Pam Greiner.
Here.
Brenda Cagle.
Here.
Val Reagan. Here. Julie Troop.
Here.
Rebecca Kern here. Judy Strong.
Present. If you'll stand with the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I need a motion to conduct a public hearing, please.
Make a motion to conduct a public hearing for the outsourcing of the district custodial services.
Thank you.
I second.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Linda Bailey.
Aye.
Pam Greiner. Brenda Cagle. Val Reagan. Julie Troop. Rebecca Kern. Aye. Judy Strong.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you. We'd like to welcome the public to the board meeting and public hearing. The purpose of this public hearing is for the Board of Education to hear your comments from the community as school personnel, as parents and other concerned individuals regarding the possibility of the school district entering into a contract with a third-party vendor to outsource our daily custodial services. We have received bids, proposals for the custodial service from 4 different vendors. These bids were opened and read at a public gathering. The financial advantages were reviewed and discussed, as well as the strengths and weaknesses of each vendor's bid. The final requirement for the board is to conduct this public hearing, then it can vote to enter into a contract with one of these vendors no later than its next regular business meeting. The Board of Education truly desires to listen to your comments and feelings of those who may be affected by this issue. We understand that it can be emotional on our staff members and their families. We ask that you be respectful and courteous in your remarks, and to make accusations or threats toward the Board of Education or individual members, we will ask you to vacate the building. The Board of Education is ready to hear the remarks and comments of all those who wish to speak to this issue. Ms. Secretary, please prepare for the hearing.
Are there any other individuals who desire to speak in front of the board at this public hearing tonight? We just want to make sure that everybody has the opportunity, and so that we can go in an orderly process. So,
Comments are limited.
I'm sorry?
Comments are limited to a certain amount of time.
Yes.
5 minutes? Yes. Comments are limited to 5 minutes, and Ms. Kern will be taking care of the timekeeping as well. So,
Ready?
yes, ma'am, I think so.
First speaker is Mr. Randy Giddens.
Here, I guess?
Yes, please come to the podium and state your name and your address for the reporter.
Okay, Randy Giddens, 821 South Creve Coeur Avenue. I know this impacts a lot of our neighbors and things like that. There's several issues in that. This weekend, I kind of concentrated on looking at the salaries and things like that. I was here at your August meeting and looked at the handout that was handed out, and noticed that there's several discrepancies with the figures. What I did is I took that handout that you had, and for the school district, you estimated it would be 4.5 full-time employees, and you calculated their wages out on that. I figured that everyone now, custodians are tier 2, their hourly salary is $13.63. I calculated that out. They work skipping vacations and everything else. It's basically 2,080 hours a year. When I did that, for an individual full-time employee, they would make $28,360. However, when I look at your documents, I looked at your detailed budget report and that, you came up with a figure of $36,360. My figures at the wages that they're collecting in the bargaining agreement comes up to 4.5 employees would be making $127,575. However, the report that you showed that the board was looking at claims that it will be $226,240. That's $98,665 higher than what the collective bargaining agreement shows. And I'm going off the documents that you had. I also went through, I looked at the Medicare, FICA, and the IMRF. I went through, looked that up. I calculated out at their wages. The actual amount is $1,530. Your report showed $3,280. Their FICA tax is that the district would be paying is $7,910. You calculated $14,027. The IMRF, I calculated that come out to $8,560, and the district's calculation is $28,859. So we need to be more accurate with the numbers if we're trying to compare. I tried to find out what are these other companies, what's the difference of things like that, but my FOIA was rejected on that. They went down life insurance for the district's employees, for all of them, as to the custodians. You reported $240. I went down, I looked at workman's comp insurance. It was estimated on that report to be $34,800. I looked on your current budget, your tentative budget that you're going to vote on tonight, the entire district workman's comp is $87,373. So you're saying those 4 employees collect, or 4.5, I'm sorry, collect, almost half of our cost for workman's comp, just for those 4.5 employees. That seemed kind of steep. Looking at the documents you approved, I know we talked about a groundskeeper that's already outsourced. We don't have a maintenance person or a summer painter. And you did mention that you would have 2 substitute custodians you estimated in your budget that could add up to $6,000. I went through and did, this is the report that you handed out a couple of weeks ago. I did my calculations and showed the difference in there. So there is a significant difference. This is your detailed budget report where I got your numbers, where you said the employees were earning $36,360. And then you go in there and IMRF is later in there. So I question the accuracy of the numbers that you're using. You're saying we're trying to save money. With this here, we gotta be more accurate with the numbers. And I think do a better job explaining it to us before you make any final decisions, please. The other thing in the resolution that you brought up was, I think that basically, my interpretation of it, may be wrong, was you have a difficulty with some people failure to follow instructions. And I've told this board repeatedly at different meetings, if the board doesn't follow instructions, how do you expect the students and the kids? For the last 2 years, I've been to meetings. The board doesn't follow board policies. In fact, Mr. Aldridge had brought it up. We changed the way we conduct the board meetings because we're not following policy anyways. So if the board don't have to follow the rules, the other thing is, I'll be discussing at the budget hearing, and we've talked about it, you all claim that you have an intergovernmental agreement. Only the school district does. The county says there is no money from this village. The village admits.
Mr. Giddens, if you have a final statement, go for it.
I don't. I thought it was going to be a public hearing.
5 minutes for everybody to be able to speak. Thank you.
But I thought it was going to be an informative public hearing. So,
But Judy, he has more to say. I'd like to hear him. These
I
people
think we
all
should
came to
listen.
this meeting to explain their standpoint. Why can't we listen to them?
He just say public hearing.
And I understood that it would be limited if we had like 100 people wanting to speak. What do you have
Let's,
on your
let's
list?
see how
Maybe
many,
10?
okay, let's have them go, and then if we still have the time, let's go with, have Mr. Giddens go.
But let's make sure we're staying with the outsourcing and not going into the budget hearings and.
So can he speak
on and
again
on and
then?
on. Yeah, that's what Ms.
Would that be
Strong
better?
That's what I
said.
said.
Let's get everybody,
I meant when we come to that part.
at the budget hearing, yes.
Yeah,
Because
for
it's
the
a
budget
separate.
hearing, let him speak at the budget hearing.
Yep.
Okay,
When we're in our regular meeting, we can address that.
that's a good idea.
But let's get through everybody, and then we can bring people back if they have concluding comments. If the board, the 5 minutes time limitation is what we normally use in our regular board meetings, so that's the time limit that was put on today. And it's up to the board if you would want to change that at all, so.
Tammy Bowers.
Tammy Bauer, 615 Dempsey Street. I don't agree with outsourcing some of our union jobs, starting with our custodians. Outsourcing would mean different people coming and going each week and maybe each day. I asked the board to give consideration to the fact that this would mean bringing strangers into our school on a daily basis. Most of our current staff has been here for many years, and some live in our community. If this is done to our custodians, I feel sure our cook staff.
I'm sorry. The
Can
phones-
everybody please turn off your phones right now? That's like a movie theater, guys. Thank you.
I'm sorry.
Sorry,
If this is done to our custodians, I feel sure our cook staff and bus drivers will be next. Our staff know these children and families, and we know them. As a parent, I know that when my child is at school, he is with people who are familiar. These people not only do their jobs, but many of them help watch out for our children and help them out when needed. We will not get that by outsourcing. The old saying, you get what you pay for, applies here. I also don't understand the reasoning behind this change. Is it to save money, or is it job performance? If this is about saving money, are we looking at other ways to save? Apparently our district is not broke. If so, why did we give a new superintendent a $7,200 raise after only 1 year? I was at a recent board meeting where it was stated that the school is working with the village to better our community, and yet now there is talk of taking these jobs and income from some of the very people who live here and giving them to people who don't. Just how does this help our community? I understand saving money, but not at the cost of our children or community's well-being. There are some things in life you just don't pay less for, and this is one of them. Our staff deserve to be paid well for the jobs they do. They are doing these jobs for our most valuable possessions, and there is no price on that. Outsourcing is not the way to thank these people for what they have done for our children all these years. So please consider all of this when you make your decision. Thank you.
Talia Hill.
Hello, my name is Talia Hill, and I live in Pekin, Illinois, but I'm a teacher here in the district. And I'm speaking to you tonight as the Vice President of the Creve Coeur Education Association. The reason for me speaking is not to be negative or to cause conflict, but rather just to show support. We as teachers are concerned about possible outsourcing of custodial jobs and are here to show our support for our custodial staff. Our custodians are comfortable. They make our students feel comfortable because they are familiar. They're here on a daily basis, and there's not a new person each day or each week. They take the time to know our students. They work diligently to ensure that our students are safe and secure, and that their surroundings are clean and inviting. They have built relationships with students as well as the staff here. They are from this community, and they take pride in it. This shines through in the appearance of our buildings. As teachers, we feel safe in regards to our belongings because we know our custodians. We feel confident that they will do everything in their power to keep our valuables safe, specifically our greatest valuable, which is our students. Our custodians have been praised on numerous occasions by this administration for the cleanliness of our buildings. It seems quite contradictory to compliment them on their abilities, but yet turn right around and be willing to replace them. The highest praise you could give them would be to allow them to stay and continue to show them your appreciation for the great work that they do. Because of these concerns, the Teachers Union would like to encourage the board to ratify the contract that the support union ratified by a unanimous vote. This agreement is the best solution to the district's concerns because it serves the needs of students, staff, and the community. Thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity to talk to the school board and the community members. I'm here, never been to a school board meeting before.
Address, please.
I'm sorry, Terry Lawson, 420 Ritchie. I live here in Creve Coeur and have my entire life. I'm here to, I guess, to represent maybe a differing opinion, and that is, I work for a not-for-profit, not unlike the school district. I've worked there for 38 years. I'm the head of HR in that organization. It's a difficult position to be in. We've had to make some really tough decisions over the last several years. In this state of Illinois, we all know funding has been diminished for not-for-profit organizations as well as school systems. We have to make really, really hard decisions all the time, but it's about being in a business, it's about operating as a business, and it's about looking at costs. I'm not here to debate the emotions of the situation, people's credibility or worth to an organization. Of course it's huge, they've been there years. We wouldn't operate without humans, but you still have to operate as a business. And I'm about operating within our means, using the money perhaps for another purpose, and staying within a balanced budget and making that happen. And it's tough. I heard the emotional appeal about strangers in our school. We outsourced our janitorial services several years ago at Human Service Center, which is where I work. It's wonderful. We use VSI. Those people are vetted. They have their background checks run. They are not strangers to our organization. They're some of the same people there all the time. And have some tenure that some of our employees don't have. So it's not been an issue from that perspective. And that's about it. I wanted to represent that perspective and appeal to the sense of working within a budget and balancing a budget and living within our means. Thank you.
Patty Smallburger.
My name is Patty Smallberger. I live at 421 Groveland Avenue. I am a paraprofessional at LaSalle School, and I am the president of the Creve Coeur Service Support Staff. The members of our association and many others in our community are here this evening to urge you to do what's right for our schools, students, community, and the dedicated employees of this school district. We ask you to ratify the agreement that you and all the rest of us have worked so hard to achieve over the last 4 months. We have kept our commitment to you, and we ask you to keep your commitment to us. As you know, it was over a month ago when we agreed to your negotiation proposal. We also agreed to freeze employee salaries for a 2-year period. That last item completed our negotiations. Our acceptance and unanimous ratification of your proposal was not only to finish an agreement to protect long-term employees and jobs in our community, but also to protect the quality of service that the school district receives and the students deserve. We said that our union would ratify this agreement, and we did. Since then, however, the school board has postponed its vote to accept its own offer, and our 2-year wage freeze offer. That's not fair or acceptable. You have indicated that you may still be considering outsourcing custodians, a move that in essence would fire long-term employees and replace them with a revolving door of new employees who don't live here, don't work here, don't shop here, don't worship here, or care about the students that we have served and looked after for many years. Even in the bids from the outsourcing companies, they admit to staff turnover rates anywhere from 41 to 77% per year. Every one of those turnovers means a new and unknown staff member in your schools, in Creve Coeur schools. You also requested that the company cut cleaning services in classrooms down to 3 times a week. Have you asked the teachers about that? Have you considered what a classroom really looks like at the end of each and every day? Is cleaning a classroom every 2 days really acceptable? And what happened to local control when the for-profit company replaces employees that were hired by a not-for-profit school district? Right now you have control, but you will have it no longer if you turn over control to profit-making companies that seek to maximize its bottom line from the taxpayers. In closing, I want to reiterate that we fully support the agreement that we reached with you back in August. The support was shown in the union's unanimous vote to ratify. We know that implementing that agreement is best for the children, the school district, the community, and the dedicated school district employees who give so much. We ask you to ratify the agreement. Thank you.
Amber Pilkington.
Hi, I'm Amber Pilkington. I live at 1245 Creve Coeur Avenue. I've lived in this community all my life, and I have also worked for the school district for 25 years. The reason why I'm speaking tonight, I had spoke before about my concerns about outsourcing the cleaning service. My first concern is safety concerns. I have been around a business where they had gone to a cleaning service. You do not get the same people all the time. They do not care about your facility like the people that we have now. And I had talked to my daughter-in-law who works in Pekin at a school district, and they have a cleaning service. They do not do as good a job as the people that they had there before. I'm also here to talk on behalf of Mr. Kleesner. He went to the baseball game tonight to support our boys. But he wanted me to say that while he was on the school board of the Monroe School, within 2 years they went back to having their own janitors. The reason why is because the cleaning service people that they had did not care about their building, and they weren't getting the good care that they had of the cleaning, and also that the number of janitors that they had. He said it was a continuous turnover. It took them a while to get rid of them, but they said that it did not work out. So I would hope that you would consider the safety of the children, the cleanliness of the school, and the opportunities that maybe we can work with our janitors that we have and work things out. Thank you.
Don Bachler.
Don Bachler, 201 West Oak Ridge, Peoria, Illinois. Got a question. Why are we having this meeting tonight? Why are we having this hearing? The Creve Coeur is mentioned here. The Creve Coeur support staff has ratified their contract. Why hasn't this board? They unanimously passed it. You haven't even discussed it in open session or anything. As board president, Mr. Strong, you sat in on these meetings, been told. Why is there delay? Why has not a vote been brought forward? Why are we proceeding with the outsourcing? I've talked to you board members a couple of times about being humanistic, having a humanistic attitude to the bus drivers, custodians, teacher assistants, the paraprofessionals we call them today, and the cooks. Do you know what it means to be humanistic? It means being honest with these people. Treat these people with dignity and being fair to them. I don't know if you're doing that. Again, why are we outsourcing? School board has the figures. You gave us the figures at a board meeting recently. It said if you accept the non-certified contract, that this board would be saving over $34,000 for the next 2 years. This is a savings to the taxpayers of Creve Coeur. And this money could be used for the students of Creve Coeur. Or maybe could use as raises for other staff members. There's a word that you've been using lately, and I want to do that tonight. The word is awesome. Awesome job, Creve Coeur support staff, in doing, support the janitors, the cooks, everybody. It has been brought up about outsourcing. Somebody asked me at a meeting, how come you FOIA'd the spec bids? I'll tell you, there's a reason, good reason, a very simple reason. You need to sit down and compare. You need to sit down and compare what the janitor's descriptions are versus what's going to be offered by the private contractors. You need to sit down. I was here at the last meeting, it was brought up. I don't think some of the board members even knew that the classrooms are going to be cleaned 3 times a week. How many times a year are the windows going to be done? When's the cleaning and buffing of these? Are these all listed in the specs? Some of them are, some are not. Private contractor, the vendors that you have, the 4 of them, they're in business, one thing, to make a profit. If they weren't, they wouldn't be a private business. How do they get there? Very simple, economics. Have a lower salary and lower their benefits. But the results, I'm going to tell you, is this. By having those type of people, and you had facts that you gave at the last meeting, and you have, I don't know if you want to enter that into it, but you went through it. They have a turnover rate anywhere basically from about 40% to 70%. They have inadequate workers. It's also been brought up, where's the cleaning supplies coming from? You budgeted $47,000 in your budget. You're going to have a budget hearing later on tonight. I think you only spent $33,000. Are they going to provide all the supplies? If they do, I'll guarantee they're going to be cheaper supplies than Atlas Supply Company. In my opinion, you had a resolution that you presented. And I don't know if these people have seen this, but you have a resolution that you passed or gave out, resolution 2014-04. It lists all the complaints about the janitors. It talked about the major complaints. I won't go through that, but I sure like to have this entered into your report. It's a board policy, I think the board passed a motion on this. I don't know if the audience even knows about 2414. And the reason I bring that up, I'll tell you, is I think this is a reason that you're looking for a quick fix. And instead of trying to solve the problem that you listed here, you want a quick fix. You want to dismiss the janitors, been told maybe by January 1st, and you want to get rid of it. Do your job. If you got a problem with something, try to fix it. Don't be outsourcing. I'm going to tell you, the next thing you're going to be doing is you're going to be picking on the bus drivers and the cooks and whatever it may be. You're already done the groundskeeper. You had it posted out here. You had people apply for the groundskeeping job. Have you hired somebody? No. You're still outsourcing it. And you're spending big bucks on it. Board members, you were elected by this community. Got some very simple things. And you need to be responsible people. Have you thought that these, my time up?
Yes.
I got my closing remarks, right? Okay. I'll skip all this thing about add-on costs, hidden costs, all this, and that these businesses are in there. But according to the last meeting, the 4 people that submitted bids, and you gave out a sheet of paper, none of them meet your requirements. What are you going to do about them? You know, these people, if you were smart board members, tonight you would vote no to outsourcing, and you would vote yes to the contract, where many of these people live in the communities, work these communities, as people ahead of us have talked about. So my advice is, save the school district $34,000, ratify the contract, and give these people their jobs back.
I'm John Schellenberger. I live 413 South Stewart. The reason why I'm here tonight is probably 90% of the people in here can name off a janitor when they went to grade school that they knew they could depend on, you know, if they need that person for anything. And it's the same way with the teacher. The teacher, they can depend on these janitors day in and day out. You know, with all the different viruses, you know, the germs and stuff that's drug into school, if you're talking about outsourcing, you know, that's the wrong way to go. You're not gonna get what you pay for there. This is what you get, what you pay for right here. These people are hardworking people. They come in here and they do their job. You need to do what's right. They sit down and bargain in good faith. You need, and that's what good faith bargaining is about, is two parties sit down and negotiate in good faith. They did their part, now you need to stand up and do your part. The other thing is did you really get a $7,000 raise, but at the same time you want to cut these?
I'm sorry, we have no questions to the board at this time. That is part of
Well,
it.
that's all I got. I'd like to say these people deserve what they get. They are in here, they earn their money. You got a well-kept place here. You'll see that go downhill real quick if you turn and go the other ways. Thank you.
Cindy Tobias.
Cindy Tobias, 215 Cypress Street, Pekin, Illinois. I am a District 76 employee, and I would like to relinquish my 5 minutes to Mr. Randy Giddens so he can finish his.
Mr. Giddens, be assured that you are having another opportunity. This is only on the, where are you? Oh, there you are. This is only on the public hearing, so if you have any further things to say about the public hearing, you're welcomed at this time. She's yielded her 5 minutes. But if it's on business on the agenda for the regular meeting, hold those for that time.
Okay,
Thank you.
okay.
We were gonna give him time anyway, Cindy.
Okay, Randy Giddens, 821 South Creve Coeur Avenue. About this hearing, and I thought it was going to really be a hearing where the board communicates with the public. Not only the public communicates with the board communicates to the public, explains and answers some of the questions. And apparently you refuse to answer any questions and don't really want to communicate to the public. You only want to hear the comments, and that's an unfair disadvantage to the public. I just heard tonight we're talking about the workload that you expect for the subcontractors is less than what you expect for our employees, but you're still trying to compare the wages. Your contractors that you're considering has an unfair advantage to the current employees if you're lessening the workload and with the numbers that you're using. And I don't know where they came from. Let's see, what about alternative savings? I mean, your resolution had 2 things in there. One was you're trying to see how much you can save, and is it really worth it? You've got the reporter here tonight because you expect to be challenged in court. How much is that court going to cost? How many people are going to challenge you in court? Those are unknown variables that you need to weigh in there before you just kick people out the door, our friends, our neighbors. The alternative savings we had, back in Mrs. Bailey had signed an energy efficiency grant. We got about $249,000. It wasn't done. We didn't want that savings after the elections, and the district returned $181,000 of that. That energy efficiency grant was supposed to save the district $30,000 each, or I'm sorry, $28,000 each and every other year. Why didn't we take advantage of that savings? Just this spring, the maintenance grant, 3 of you voted for that.
Mr.
And
Giddens, this doesn't sound like it's on.
it is on this, because you're saying you're trying to save dollars with these contractors. This maintenance grant, you're sending the money back to the state. There's a lot of work that can still be done using that maintenance grant. We've lost it. And I'm guessing it might be somewhere in the neighborhood of $30,000 to $40,000. We could do work with that maintenance grant, stuff that has to be done before 2016 that you're required to do, and only pay half the price, because that maintenance grant was going to pay the other half. You don't want that savings. Why are we targeting employees for the only savings? the same people are making the same decisions, and that really doesn't seem fair. And then the other issue that you don't want to address, most of the stuff in that resolution was addressing the conduct of the employees. Or, like I said, is it failure to follow instructions? Why did this grant money for the energy efficiency go back? The board didn't vote to return it. It's because the superintendents and the board president didn't put it on the agenda, and the stuff wasn't let out for quotes, and the work didn't get done. To me, that's still in the same category. Failure to follow instructions, that's $181,000. Same, the maintenance grant. The board didn't say, vote on it and decide we didn't want that grant money. A couple of individuals took it upon themselves. Failure to follow the board's instructions. When I sat on the board back in the 80s and 90s, some people would be addressing that if that happened to that board. Why isn't it happening to this board? You're setting, if you don't follow the rules and just do things as individuals, why do you expect any more of the staff? I mean, the bar up here for our students and staff is here. They have to follow the rules. Every one of you voted to expel students for failure to follow school policy. And like I said, there hasn't been a meeting following school policy since this group right here was sworn in. And Mr. Aldrich pointed that out a while back. You're not following, there's other policies that you aren't following, I hear from time to time, but who is holding yourselves accountable? You can't look out on the people out here and say, you're not following directions, and judge them if you're not willing to follow and set an example. That's the reason why I keep saying at times, what example are you following? Several times, everybody knows I FOIA a lot of things. The board tells the community in public meetings a lot of different stuff. I FOIA the documents and find it's not true. Thank you.
That completes those that have signed up to address the board. The Board of Education will be discussing this yet because we haven't done all of our discussion. The Board of Education does thank all of you for your comments, remarks, and feelings spoken out tonight. We have heard and we will be discussing as a board. The board's next step is that discussion to deliberate, debate, and decide whether outsourcing is right for our school district. We have heard all the tremendous cost differences between the district pays and what it would cost for outsourcing. The Board of Education is entrusted as trustees of the public taxpayer funds, and we are endeavoring to care for and to spend that money wisely. The Board of Ed is also an employer and has all of the concerns with the personnel as our employees, as their employer. So this is not an easy decision, but it is one that is coming to a vote soon. The board is scheduled to vote on the issue at its next regular business meeting on October 21st. We thank you for your time and patience while we decide the direction of the district will be taken. Mr. Aldrich is feeling that the board is wanting to discuss it in open.
I want to say something personally.
Okay. All right. We'll discuss some of it in open then. Go ahead, Mrs. Drew.
I would just like to make a comment to you guys about, it's asked why we're even having this meeting, why are we doing this, you know. First of all, I have been elected here to make decisions for the school district, okay? I need to be educated and take in all the options, all the information, and gather everything to make an informed decision. I can't just go off my heart, okay? I have to be able to make an informed decision. So that's why I personally felt it was important to have this meeting. I needed to hear the public's opinion about whether we should do it or not. No decision has been made yet. So please understand that. We have not made a decision yet. There has not been a vote. This is an investigation about whether or not outsourcing would be good or not. So that's why we're having this meeting.
Other comments from the table?
I have some questions that
Okay.
were also relayed by the audience. Why are we looking at outsourcing the janitors? I'm on the board. I've heard money, I've heard its performance. Administrative time is in this resolution. So what is the real reason that we're doing this? Because I've not seen budget cuts in other areas. I've heard that there are no evaluations that reflect poorly on the current custodians. So what is the real reason?
Well, we have talked about the last one, that we have nothing in our files. Their contract doesn't allow us to carry over. We've talked about that as board. Budget cuts we've asked members not to go to the yearly IASB meeting. That's a huge cut, and we are doing that.
I don't believe
up in
we were asked. I
Chicago.
believe we volunteered.
And
We
spend
asked
money other
before,
ways.
I'm sorry,
I'm
still
sorry, but after
discussing.
you're done, I'm gonna comment on your
Okay.
comments.
We asked at a meeting that
Yes, we
board
did.
members not go.
I wasn't at that one.
Apparently I wasn't either. But regardless.
It was on the minutes even, that we voted not to send everybody. There was a number and discussion on it, so yes, it has been. And we are still going as one of the participants, and please don't be disruptive. One of the person commented, we are accountable for this money. We are in a deficit every year for the last few years. So we have to start seeing where we stop a deficit.
And I agree with that. There
And-
are other places to cut first before you
Well,
cut
we are.
people's jobs.
We're cutting going up to Chicago as a whole board. We're cutting as many areas as we can. We're just looking, we're investigating, as Mrs. Troop said. And Mr. Aldridge has done a great job. You know, he saved, tell me on the,
$7 a month.
how much?
$7 a month on the
No,
cameras?
I'm talking about just this year.
Copy machines?
Well, and what
On
else do you wanna
paper.
cut? Do you wanna cut bands? Do you wanna cut
Yeah.
But you keep
basketball?
bringing that up. Every time we say something about cuts, you go right to the kids' sports and the kids' things.
Well,
But wait a minute, let me
we
finish.
can't cut teachers because then I've got even more parents coming up
I
complaining
didn't
because
say
their
teachers,
kids are in.
but we have
Classes
one to
of
Chicago,
25.
you're absolutely right. Some have
So-
been cut going to
Gotta
the
slow down,
conferences.
because the poor record,
Some have
her
been cut
fingers
going
are burning
to any
up.
conferences. We don't go to any conferences. Any conferences and any education I get it free, or I pay for it myself for this board. Other people go to the dinners, and it's paid for by the district. And no one's cut that. It seems like things are cut depending on who wants it cut. We don't talk as a board what needs to be cut. You also have teachers who have gone to conferences that we pay big bucks for. Maybe we should look at that and see what the worth is. Maybe it should be train the trainer and cut it there instead of like 5 people going to the same conference. We don't discuss any of that. It just seems like certain people want certain things to cut and that gets cut.
Did you want to continue?
No. I just, we keep talking about it's for the kids, but, that was an issue a couple years ago. That was gonna be the first thing that got cut was band, and so.
But I wasn't on the board then.
We as a board have not discussed where the cuts should be.
Exactly.
Several
That's
years
kind-
ago, when I was on the board, and we did discuss cuts, we discussed
Isn't that what we're
major
doing right now?
cuts, but we did it as a board.
We are
But
doing
that's
it
what,
right
kind of what we're doing right now, right? We're
Right now.
discussing, we're investigating a possible cut.
Right now.
Let's investigate another cut. Shall we make 40 students in the classroom? I mean, come on, people, we got to be
That's a scare
realistic
tactic
here.
to the public to say, Oh, cut band, cut sports, 40 people in the classroom. Let's get realistic and see really
Where else
the
are you gonna
cuts.
Cut. Wait a minute. In May, we were not in a financial distress. No one mentioned we need to cut, we need to save. The public's right. We gave the superintendent a 6% raise.
And we gave the principal a 4% raise.
So, I'm sorry, where did this come from all of a sudden? Now, we've got to save money, let's cut the janitors.
In open session. It was done through negotiation, so it could be hidden from the public table. First of all, nothing was hidden. It was during a negotiation, the union contract was up, it was part of going through a process. It just so happened to be a union process to where if during that process, if we were going to look at possibly investigating outsourcing, it was at the right time to look at what the cost would be in doing a savings if we thought that that was going to be a way to outsource. No one said that we were going to actually outsource. Everybody got carried away that we were going to actually outsource. We never said that we were going to outsource. Then the union then decided to go and do a pay freeze for 2 years when possibly we weren't even going to outsource to begin with. Then they do a pay freeze for 2 years when we could even say we're not outsourcing. Then they get stuck doing a pay freeze for 2 years. Nice. So the whole thing just actually snowballed, okay, to where we could still vote that we're not even going to outsource at all. Then they're stuck not even getting a pay raise for 2 years. Okay, so that's kind of where the whole thing is at this point. Is that we are still at this point not ready to outsource. We are just investigating because we are trying to figure out at this point how we can save money for the public, for these kids in this district, so that we can move forward for our children and for the best thing for these kids, for our public, for this board, so that our teachers can teach our kids and that we can live with our decisions so that Patty can have the best people working for her, that our teachers can be the best teachers for our kids, because we all care about our kids. Linda cares, Val cares, every single person cares, because it is our community and our kids. It's not Don Bachler's kids, it's our kids. It's his kids, it's our kids. It is Diane's kids. It's everybody's kids. It is her kids. It's our kids. We're trying to do the best for our kids. That's why we all have to decide that we're going to try and work on this together. So when we go into that meeting, we might not even vote yes. We might decide to settle this contract. But we have to decide on what are the best figures for these kids. We might not decide to vote yes to outsource. Because as a turnover, my God, I don't want our kids to have this janitor this year and next week they've got a new janitor. I don't want that for our kids, but I do want to be able to save money. So is getting rid of the band the best thing? My God, I don't have any idea. That's why we have to investigate these things. And sorry that I'm getting emotional, but my gosh, this is what you guys vote for. We need to figure out what's best for this community. And I don't think that anyone sitting here at this board has any idea. I don't know that any of these people out here have any idea. Our work comp is terrible. We have to decide as a board and as a community, how are we going to fix that? I've been doing work comp claims for years. I've been in the insurance business for years. I don't have a clue how to fix this. It's terrible. So we have to figure it out, people, because we're going to go bankrupt if we continue the path that we're doing.
So I've gone off on a tangent, I'm sorry, but at this point, we gotta figure it out. We're just here trying to save money as a board for our community and our kids.
Thank you.
You have a question?
I don't think we're doing questions at this time, it's board discussion. You had your time.
So are we gonna investigate band or sports? Is that the,
You just blew Robert through.
We need to investigate our technology, because our children right now, maybe the public doesn't know, but our children right now don't have the infrastructure in technology that they need to take the test that's required by the state. They're doing it by pen and paper.
I guess
Really?
if we decide not to
You know, I
outsource the
teach college
custodians,
and I make my kids do pen and paper. I don't even use a
The
computer.
state isn't. The state
But
isn't.
right now we don't. It's not mandated right now.
How many
It
years we
is
got?
mandated.
I don't know, but maybe they'll give us a grant then.
And I
Gotta
keep
start
hearing this,
planning.
but I don't have a technology plan telling me what we need, how much it's gonna cost. So
I
why
guess,
don't we cut what we need to get this done?
I guess the
And
point
only
is,
that.
if we decide not to outsource the custodians, then we go down to the next thing on the list and find out where the money's gonna come from.
But why is it an issue with money right now?
Because we're deficit spending.
We've been deficit spending for years.
We
all
can't
of a
do
sudden.
it. We can't continue to
I
do it.
agree
You've
with
said
that,
it over
but
and over.
For
for
years?
years, only with working cash are we making a balanced budget?
We
For
haven't been
years.
doing it for years.
We've had a balanced budget.
No.
Until last year.
No.
2
we have
years
not.
ago, I
We're
voted on
running
a balanced budget.
300,000 deficit every year or more.
2 years
Without
ago, I
working
balanced.
cash, you can't balance.
But we did have a balanced budget, yes. Thank you.
It makes it balanced.
We had a balanced budget though,
We
right,
did.
Linda?
Yes, we had a
Thank you.
balanced budget, but you're
Except
having
for last
to
year.
use working cash to do it. So when that's gone,
And that's what we're trying to do.
I know.
And that's what we're trying to save, is money.
That's why we're gonna do bonds, but.
That will help also. We are
You
planning.
have to
Those are another
investigate
plan.
all the ways
But
of
like
saving
Pam
money.
said, where's the tech plan? If we're going after something, we should have it in black and white.
The superintendent has
Dollars.
been instructed to get a tech plan from the technology company that we hired. We've done that at many different,
When we hired Jay
when we
Woodward.
hired the company, we instructed him to get a tech plan put together. You can look back, you can listen back on the recording, it was done.
And those meetings have been started.
Okay.
I have a question about the specs that were sent out. And I know they're not apples to apples as far as the cleaning of the classrooms and everything else. But did we also add in there for expected charges for setting up like Grandparents' Day, Christmas programs, board meetings, the IASB dinner in April? There's just a list that goes on and on, PACE activities that require extra duties for those janitors. Is that in the bid?
Those are, excuse me, extra duties are things outside of their normal work day, okay? So if we have a janitor who is on, on schedule, setting up for the board meeting will be a part of that person's job duties. Yes, that's not an extra pay, there's not an extra fee for that, that's a job duty that's inside of that work schedule.
What about activities then, like Saturday, like the Journal Star Red Stocking Program,
We
things
would
like
have,
that?
we'd have to pay extra for that, just like we do for our own employees right now.
But you budget for that probably yearly, right? Is that in your figures for them?
There is, yes.
Okay, but it's not in the outsourcing bid?
It's not in their bid specifically, no, probably not.
Okay, so that would make a less of the savings, right? If anything, are they
And
available
how
24?
many of those do we have?
I don't know off the top of my head.
In the last school year, I didn't, 2, 3. So I don't know how big of a cost it would be actually, so I don't know.
And do these companies have staff available 24/7 for emergencies? I've seen our janitors at a school that caught on fire at 4 o'clock in the morning, cleaning those rooms so we could have school that day. Are these companies gonna be able to provide that? And at what cost?
And did you pay extra for those custodians to
I
come in
don't know if
and
they
do
did or
those
they
things.
gave them time off, I don't know how it was handled then, but they were available and they were there.
But
That was my question, are they available 24/7?
we have an account, there would be an account manager, and you would make those phone calls. And if there needs to be a shift in the scheduling of individuals, just like you had done here, or did here, you could make those arrangements.
Okay, I see that in the specs again, parts of the building are currently cleaned by some of our other staff members. You've got the companies cleaning like the kitchen floor. You've got them wiping off tables, that's our current lunchroom, and kitchen staff doing that. So are we gonna cut hours there to save more money?
That was never an intention, no?
Another question? What about graffiti? Several times, especially here at Parkview and at Homewood, we've had graffiti. Our janitors go out and try to clean it off. Would we have to pay these people extra?
And I went out and sanded it off the, Head Start's little shed out there too, so.
I mean, I think we take a lot for granted that our janitors do.
Okay, but then you're assuming that everything that every piece of paper that somebody picks up, they're gonna charge us for. And I don't see that being the case, okay? I don't see that, whatever is needed within this person's, these custodians' jobs, whatever is needed is going to be asked and done, okay? And if it is something that is outside of their normal work hours or something that is outside of the scope, okay? I don't see cleaning graffiti outside the scope of a custodian's job employment.
Well, I went through the bids in your office, and it actually had a timeline. They will do this Monday, they will do this Tuesday. If they have to go out and clean off graffiti, the rooms aren't gonna get vacuumed again for a third day or a fourth day because they had them specifically doing certain tasks at certain times.
As we do.
Okay.
As we do. So when a custodian is, takes an hour away to attend to an emergency, one of our custodians, there's an hour in that day that other work isn't being done. And that's just one person can't be in two places. So I guess it's, I'm not quite sure what the real question is though, because.
I was under the impression they came in to do a job, they had a list to do, period. Now, does that list vary from day to day? I know our janitors does, but I'm talking a company. They're not familiar with our buildings. They might not have been in here on Monday, but they come in on Tuesday. They're gonna have to have a list, right?
Such we do with our substitutes, right?
Just wondering.
And I'm just trying to give you a truthful answer.
Right.
I'm trying to piece this through. Not everything, you can't put every eventuality or every scenario or every little thing in a bid specification. That's why you try to develop a relationship with the account managers and those people who are in charge.
Okay, 2 of these companies are out of state. Correct?
No,
But one
just
was
one.
out.
Just one.
One's out of Missouri. One is out of Missouri.
The other one's Nebraska.
No, but they have an office here in Illinois.
Okay.
They do, yeah.
Got an Iowa.
Rock Island.
Iowa.
Rock Island. They have satellite offices, but the guy who came here and submitted the proposal was from, I think it was from Rock Island.
And so only 2 are local.
That's correct.
So
Local as in Peoria, Tazewell County. That's correct.
So where are you dealing with this manager? Are they local or are they in St. Louis?
No, there's layers of supervision, and you're gonna have you're gonna have a custodian who is a lead person, somebody who's in charge right there at the building. Then you would have the account manager, and you would have another district supervisor. So there is layers of supervision in there. Where is that person going to be? I'd have to go back and read, because each one of them had a different scope. Some of them were right here, some of them were, 24/7 access, some of them were, here on, opposite days, those kind of things. Yeah, so.
Do we ever do a time study to see that if our janitors
No.
only cleaned the rooms every third day, maybe we could cut janitors instead of, we're always trying to hire some more substitute janitors, maybe we could just cut janitors, they could keep their jobs, and we wouldn't be outsourcing. Yeah.
And you said cut janitors, so I'm confused.
Cut hours.
Cut
So for
hours.
instance, we're cleaning the rooms every day, our janitors. So if we say you only have to clean the rooms every other day, maybe we wouldn't need as many janitors as we do. Maybe we could save money there.
But once again, you're saying maybe we wouldn't need as many janitors, so we're cutting janitors?
You would cut hours. So you might only need 3 janitors versus 4.
And that's been
But that would be a time study.
that's a good question. No, there has not been any kind of a time study, but that's been a question that I've asked the district staff, Shelley and Stephanie. I'm not trying to push anything off on them, but it was okay. Specifically, does it really take 5.5 hours to clean Homewood and Litchfield? Okay, well, I don't know. Zane, you guys know? I don't know.
Good point. Well, I just said, I don't know if it takes 5.5 hours to clean it. I'm just saying, but we have it in the spec bids, we're not gonna be cleaning it 5.5 hours every day. We're gonna clean it 3 days a week.
Certain things are only cleaned 3 days a week. It's not just
Well, so it wouldn't take the time that we have now.
We can definitely look at that. We have problems with the,
Yeah, but isn't that part of the union contract?
that's,
No, their hours are not.
yeah, no, they are.
It's guaranteed that
Yeah.
we will have 4.5
Yes.
janitors.
No,
No,
not enough.
but hours.
Their hours.
And actually,
Okay.
we cut. We did have 5.
We used to have 5 and we gave them more work a few years back and cut it.
Oh, there's no doubt. That's not anything I've ever looked at or decided that was something to go into. So,
Well, I just meant that if we're looking at saving money,
yeah. It's not so much saving money as it is having,
And the right people doing the right amount of jobs to cover the building and all of that.
right,
but they have in the specs only gonna clean the classrooms every other day. Our janitors are cleaning it every day.
and there are other things in those specifications that our janitors are not doing that fill up that time. So, it is, while it's pieced together a little bit differently, the actual services are probably gonna be pretty comparable, right? It's not so much saving money as it was looking at an alternative funding and revenue for our technology and our facilities. And it was, anywhere from, $60,000 to $120,000 in savings that would be put back into the things that the district needs as far as technology and our facilities and those kind of things. And yes, there is a technology plan in development, and there is a facilities plan that's going to be started and worked on, because we need those things. So.
Did you address any of the comments that were made about your figures being off. I know you had the two people in the office doing those. Ours were for a 3-year period, number one. So could you address any of those? Is there some errors that the board needs to know of financials that came through from the outsourcing companies?
No, whatever differences may have been calculated, I was working with the budgeting the numbers that we have in our budget and our actual costs from the year before, and I just really couldn't tell you what numbers were talked about here, how they were arrived at, as opposed to the ones that I came up with, because you can't just say 200 or 2,080 hours, because that's not what happens. We've got substitutes, we've got people that they aren't working, it's not as clean as that during the year. You don't punch in 180 days, 8 hours a day, cha-ching, at the end of the year, you got 2,080 hours and you get paid at 2,080 hours at this certain rate. Now, we had differences in the tiers and the amounts that are paid. We had an employee who was at the top rate, who has been gone for more than half the year, but she's still an employee. But we haven't been paying her at that top rate. We've been paying a lower rate for the custodian, the substitute custodian. So you've got to, there's all those things are factors that don't just show up on the website. So my figures that are working, are coming right from our bookkeepers and our payroll and all of those things. So we try to be as accurate as possible.
And could you address some of the things the board has talked about as far as if we do continue with our current status of employees, what do you see as changes in being able to, can you just speak those out a little bit, which are coming through the new union contract that Mrs. Bailey and I set together for 5+ hours and really desired to see some changes. Could you discuss some of those things that we're seeing in the union contract that is going to help us address the conduct of employees?
Okay. During the negotiations and with the proposal that the union has submitted to the board, there are provisions in there for new job descriptions, because the job descriptions that we have for many of our categories are not up to date, and they don't reflect the duties that are being performed. So we have job descriptions. We have a provision for an evaluation instrument that gives us more, a better reflection of what performance is, rather than just a checklist. Right now it's just, there's 1 through 150 little check marks. Did so-and-so do this and do this and do this? And it's not a good reflection. So there's that as well. There was mention of the fact that there are no disciplinary or misconduct or any kind of things like that in the personnel files. That's because the contract, as it was, had a provision in there that on June 30th, everything that was negative or was a disciplinary, a written disciplinary action was removed or is removed from the personnel file. So on July 1st, everybody starts all over. Their files are wiped clean, essentially. And so somebody could be reprimanded on June 29th for, insubordination or, getting into a fist fight with the teacher or whatever it might be on June 29th. And on July 1st, that's taken out of the folder. So we don't have personnel files that reflect any kind of past performance issues. Okay, so the proposed language now puts that in there, and so that is those disciplinary infractions stay in the files. All right, so those are the kind of performance issues and things of that nature that are in this contract. Essentially, what the union has done is that the union has taken the proposal for the Board of Education's proposal for all of the language changes, and they've accepted those. That's just the truth. And that's what it is. So everything that the Board of Education wanted as language proposals, the union has accepted. All right? And and you've heard and you know that there's a 2-year wage freeze that accompanies that part of the contract as well.
But that's
That's
not
the
what
truth.
we requested.
No, that was not a request from the board, not at all. That was something that the union proposed and submitted to us.
So does that mean it is a 2-year contract, or is it a 1-year contract?
They have submitted a 2-year contract with a wage freeze for both years for all categories of job, all job categories. Okay? In the union, yes. So it's not just the custodians, it is all of the union employees have agreed to this. I need to clarify one thing that does kind of bother me, is that of our custodians, I believe only one lives in the school district. Okay, so maybe in the past that was the case, but that's not really the case now. I'm just saying that we can't use residency as a big sticking point.
The summer help, many of them do live in the district. The summer help.
Who are cooks, who are cooks and
It affects their,
some teachers and all of that.
it affects their livelihood because they won't be working during the summer.
We've had this discussion, and summer help is not affected by the
Yes, it
outsourcing.
is.
Yes.
Yes, it is. It's in here.
Look at the
It
it
can be.
It could be.
It's in here. It was in
It's
the
in the
specs.
specs. It's in the savings.
And
Yeah, it
the
is
other
in the savings.
conversation we haven't expressed is that the outsourcing companies will be addressing those that are currently employed and allowing them to bring in their resumes to them, so that, and local resumes. Am I right on that?
Yes, that everyone who is, who's currently employed, all the current employees have the right to apply for those positions as well.
But some of those only paid $9.
That is correct. Some of them were $9, $9.50, $10. That is correct.
And our base pay is not what was stated.
For tier 2, I think you said.
But
Yeah.
that doesn't cover the
But that's not
4.5
all.
employees.
No, you're absolutely right. Because we do have several that are in tier 1.
Yes.
I have a question about security. Right now, I believe our janitors, they respond to calls, alarm calls in the middle of the night and everything else, but how?
That's not correct.
Okay, then that's changed. Stand corrected.
Okay.
Okay, but they do have keys to the building, they open the building, so they have the keys, they have the codes. You've got a turnover rate, 41% to 77%. How many keys are we gonna have to our buildings, and how many security codes are we gonna have out there? How secure are our buildings gonna be?
Well, as secure as I can impress upon the vendor, I don't know. I do know that Fond du Lac Bank uses one of the vendors and have found that it's been very, very positive, and they don't have, that turnover rate is not reflected in, at least at Fond du Lac Bank, it's not reflected. They've had the same people over and over again, and their security, I think, would be as high as ours, if not more. So
The Human Service Center spoke, Terry Lawson, okay, she spoke that the Human Service locally has this BSI. We have to remember, these are companies, and they're established companies, maybe one wasn't, but they're established companies with contacts that have been made to verify their information and how their performance is. So
everyone goes through the same background checks and the same fingerprinting and background checks that any school employee has to go through.
That turnover rate has to come from somewhere. I mean, they had to disclose this. It's their rate that they've told us. It has to come from somewhere. Somebody's getting a different janitor every day.
You're asking me a question that I don't have an answer for. I'm sorry.
How else do you come up with that rate?
That's the information they gave us. So I'm not sure. But to say we're gonna have a different janitor every day and a revolving door, I don't know. I'm concerned about that too. I don't wanna see different people in the building every couple of weeks. You know, that's not good practice for any employer.
covering a few concerns that I've heard, the resolution that was mentioned is part of our minutes, isn't it?
Yes, the resolution is a part of the minutes.
So you can go back in those minutes, I believe it was June or July? July minutes?
July 1?
That resolution is already entered there.
Right.
It's online, under the school site.
Okay, thank you. Online. From your notes, Board of Education, are there any further concerns that you see that deem necessary to converse on so that our public can hear some of the comments that maybe the questions they were asking that we haven't addressed yet?
I don't have any.
Thank you.
I just got one last comment. I feel that the union, they responded to our proposal. They ratified it unanimously. I think we need to stand by our proposal, and we need to set up a special meeting to vote on that contract.
Okay, one thing that was never brought out from that time with the union was they said, go on, continue your investigation, continue it. This is the time we're trying to finish that investigation. It's already in the process. It takes a lot of process to get it to this point. So that's why we are following through.
So wasn't that as long as we agreed and voted on the proposal? I mean, I could be wrong here, but I thought as long as we agreed and voted on that proposal.
They said continue with your
continue the
investigation.
investigation.
No, they said continue with your investigation. We just want you to ratify. So they want us to look at what it
They want us
is.
to ratify it.
Well, that doesn't mean we had to.
Well,
That
so-
doesn't mean we had to, and we can't if we continue to investigate. We can't.
Yes, we can. They said we could ratify it, investigate it, and then 2 years out, maybe we could do this process.
That's what we're doing. We're investigating right now.
But we didn't ratify the contract.
No, we have not yet.
So when are we going to set a meeting to vote on the contract?
It's said in your minutes, October.
That was on
Regular
outsourcing the
meeting.
janitor. That was not accepting the contract.
That is on the October meeting, regular meeting time. We announced it tonight.
Who decided that, Mrs. Strong?
Well,
Well, that's maybe something we can discuss in an executive session.
It's
I
not
don't
an
believe that's
executive
a
session item.
No, it's not.
You wanna push to vote on it right now? Is
It
that what you're
says
doing?
motion
I'm
to
gonna
enter
vote
in
to
closed
vote on it.
session for
I don't
collective
wanna vote on it right
negotiation
now.
matters between the public body and school, so that is an executive session item that we're gonna
But whether to
discuss.
put it on the agenda and when is not an executive session item.
as president and superintendent, we have the right to put things on the agenda. And it has been in the making through all of this process that is when it was going on. Nothing new has come from that. It has always been stable, always clear, and stated when we would go for it.
I thought the last time we discussed it, it might even be next week.
That's what was said.
There was a few people that asked for it, just like
I
it was
thought we all
tonight.
agreed on it last week.
No,
I don't know that there was
We did not.
agreement, but it was discussed.
Well, and I believe 3 board members can still call a special meeting, so I would like to call a special meeting for next Tuesday night to vote on the contract.
You need 3.
We got 3.
Okay. All right.
Let's do it.
These people waiting on them.
Next Tuesday, free.
6 PM, is that what you wanted?
That will be fine.
Thank you. Okay. It takes 4 to be present on a meeting. Okay,
It does take 4 people.
It does.
And if
It does.
people are out of town or work, then the meeting won't happen. So I work, so I'm just.
This is just dragging on. We just need to.
I'm not trying to drag anything on, I'm just saying I work next Tuesday. I wasn't asked about my schedule, I was told the meeting's gonna be next Tuesday, I say I work, sorry.
Would you like it Wednesday?
I'd have to look at my, no, when's my schedule Wednesday?
I didn't bring it. I'm sorry.
You didn't bring it, it's in my car, I can go get it.
I have no problem. Make a meeting one day next week that suits everybody else.
Just need to get it done.
Well, how about we do this? I'll send an email to the board members to get a date that works for everybody. How's that?
Why don't we just set it tonight so that everybody knows when it is?
Okay.
Can we take a 5-minute break for her to go get it?
Sure.
You don't have to take a break, I can walk.
Well, she can walk out to her car. I don't know if the hearing's over or not. I'm not sure if all the board members are
I can't do Tuesday or Thursday.
finished speaking.
Honestly.
why do you see the pressure on doing this? Why? Why?
Because
We had it from the union, and it wasn't a good thing to pressure. We need to have the time to formulate what's coming at us. We need to have the time to reflect. You are pushing and pushing and pushing. You need to back off.
Mrs. Strong, you don't run this board, this board is 7 people. not
I didn't
one.
say it wasn't, but it's not
I
one
don't-
person either.
I don't think next week is bad. I just am not gonna make a decision on it tonight. Feelings are running
And
very
we didn't
strong,
ask
and I
any
get that.
decisions made.
I'm just not gonna make a decision tonight.
The October
But I don't-
21st, the October 21st date is because of statutory timelines for the outsourcing process,
Correct.
okay? So that date was there, and that date has been there from the start, so.
But it has nothing to do with the contract, whether we ratify the contract or not.
Okay, you're,
Am I correct?
that is correct.
Okay.
All right, so if there's a vote to ratify the
Then it's done.
contract, then there's no need for any further discussion by the board at that meeting. So it would be done.
Mrs. Strong, do you follow or? Do you understand?
Yes, I understand, but there's a lot that we're still processing, and that's what I'm saying. Give time for processing it. You've got a lot of money. You got over $500,000 savings for this district in a 5-year period. $500,000, and you're wanting to push it? Give time for us to formulate and to listen and to see, okay, what is best for this district? That's all I'm
I had
saying.
a couple weeks to go through all the specs. I went through all of them. I processed
Okay, I work
everything.
full-time at this point. They work full-time at this point. You guys are out of your home, so you are processing it.
I work full-time, I went through them.
Okay, that's good for you. It's not for someone
I probably work
else.
more than full-time, so that's irrelevant.
No, I'm stating we need time to process.
The rest of the board said they wanted to hear what the public had to say.
Yes.
And I agree with Mrs. Kern, I probably wouldn't want to decide tonight either. But I think by next week, we owe these people a meeting to let them know what's going on. It's been drugged out way too long at this point.
Well, I know we have other things coming up. You know, the board is not a position where we're paid for anything. We give of our time, and we have invested greatly, even in this, for studying. So because of the time investment, I believe time is what we're asking for. Give it some time so it processes correctly.
Maybe she's locked out.
There's certainly
door should be
not.
locked.
Oh, no, the door's open.
Well, she called a meeting for next Tuesday.
Yeah, but I mean, if they can't make it, I'm agreeable to Wednesday. I mean, I want them to have the opportunity to be here. That's not the point.
October 6th is the week after, and that is a special meeting. That will be a special. You have your list right here, that is a special meeting day.
But if you're not voting, if you're gonna make a vote on the outsourcing, it has to be prior to a regular meeting. And I think what,
October 7th would be.
I think she needs the contract, not the outsourcing.
All we want to do is let them come.
That's it.
right, which, it doesn't have anything to do with being a special meeting.
Right, so you said October 6th, I go, that would be the special meeting.
It's the 16th.
And they the whole meeting.
Well, we have it on here as a special meeting, it says right here.
Because he's
It's October
having
7th,
a
special board meeting. Right, we just clean it up.
Because we have business during it, so we don't want to do a committee of the whole, we have basically.
Right.
But we never changed that designation, so.
You can go. Yeah, it is, you can still go. Yeah.
We just let it go to special meeting.
No, I mean, you're saying you can.
No, I'm not saying one way or another. Take a break.
We can still set that meeting. At the regular one.
I can make it Wednesday.
I would have to move things around. Friday actually works best for me.
Friday,
Okay. I could move.
I might be back in Saturday.
Yeah, I can. Tuesday or Thursday, but I can move stuff on Wednesday.
Is this payroll unexpected?
Yeah, but let's
Should we call, just come back and call it the regular meeting? We
Yeah.
don't have to call it this one.
She's coming. She's coming.
You know, then, okay, they're all ready, not available.
That's the 24th, right?
No.
Yes.
Oh.
It's Springfield.
Sorry,
that day.
had wrong one. I am not available Wednesday night. I have a prayer.
And
Tuesday?
Not available Tuesday.
All right. right, Mrs. Turner, are you available Monday?
The 29th or the 22nd?
22nd.
Yeah.
Then I would like to request the meeting Monday the 22nd at 6 o'clock at Parkview. Special meeting to vote on the contract.
That's all right. I don't want to be here. I only have 3:40.
Second.
There's not a motion on the floor, was there?
Yeah.
No,
It
two
wasn't a
people.
motion, she's requesting,
But you have to have at least three people agree on it.
so you're agreeing to it.
I'm agreeing to it.
Okay.
This is for the 5 o'clock accommodator schedule.
Yes. 4:30 would be even better.
You know, I don't like early meetings,
I don't think
but,
it's fair to
You
the
know what,
public.
Linda?
but, you don't think so?
I think we could do it at 5 o'clock because it's not fair to the public
Okay.
to be able to get here. She said
5
she'd be
o'clock, I
fine.
don't think we can do it any earlier.
It's
gonna
not
be
gonna
a
take-
short meeting, right? That's all it's gonna be on is one vote.
10 minutes.
Can we make it at 5, Julie?
I could do 5 o'clock, yes.
5 o'clock Monday, the 22nd at 6 o'clock. 6 o'clock?
5 o'clock.
No,
5 o'clock,
o'clock.
excuse me, 5 o'clock. Yes, it's Central Time, Dwight.
We need a motion to close the public hearing, please.
Is there more discussion of?
Did you have something else you wanted to?
No.
Hmm?
I thought the president closed the meeting.
We have a call to a motion.
Sorry. Adjourn the hearing, that'd be fine.
Without a motion. Okay. We adjourn the public hearing at 7:14 p.m.
So, 7, is that clock right?
31.
I see
7:30.
that hand going the wrong way. Let's try 7:33.
Yeah, I can do that.
So let's take a 10-minute break. I call this Creve Coeur District 76 Board of Education regular meeting to order at 7:47.
We're doing the public hearing.
For the budget.
Yep,
Yeah.
that's the
Yeah.
next thing.
It's
So
great.
right there.
But
Yep.
it's way down here.
Yeah, we've already done all that. All sorts
Oh,
of.
we just closed the public hearing.
Yeah, on that
Okay,
one.
now
Yeah, we're
it's
on that
over.
Yeah.
All right, public hearing, budget.
Budget
At
hearing.
7:46.
Very good. All right. The tentative budget was talked about actually about 6 weeks ago. It was presented to the Board of Education. And in that intervening time, we had a very costly issue come up with our hot water heater at LaSalle's kitchen in time. And so that was obviously an unforeseen cost. So I made some change to the where we go, operations and maintenance. Up there at the top, you can see was added to the estimated expenses for operations and maintenance. And we added, I believe it's $10,000 to try to cover that cost. Commercial water heaters are not cheap, are they, Mr. McCormick? They are not, as we have found out. But we have the school district budget form that was on display since the 14th of August. And I will have to say that we had no public come in and look at our display. So it's kind of too bad. but it was on the website, and this one will be put on there as well. But as you can see, the estimated revenues, estimated expenses, and profit loss going across there. There is a deficit budget. We do have cash reserves, so it is, we can call it a balanced budget. We have enough money to cover our expenses, and as I said last time, that number, 838,000, is probably inflated with fluff, with an increase over the previous budget, not necessarily the actual costs for this year, because I think it's just kind of, it's difficult when you have going by your actual costs because of all the variables that come in the school year. So being able to have the budget and have the money there to work within when it's needed, rather than having to amend the budget all the time, and then we see it come in as it did this year under that expected deficit number. So that's the hope. That's what we try to do. We work real hard in the office to minimize those things that that we feel are on the unnecessary side, and that's all a matter of perspective. But the things that I don't like to compromise on are the students, and making sure that we have the materials and the technology and the information we need for our students to succeed. And as the technology budget comes up, or a technology plan comes together, we will need to look at that. And it is mandated. It has to be on the computer. All right. This year we had to apply for a waiver. We have not gotten that waiver yet. So if we don't get the waiver, I'm not sure what's going to happen. I'm not sure what the State Board of Education's plan is. All I know is that it all rolls downhill, and school districts are at the bottom of that hill. And whatever the State Board decides is what we have to do. Whether or not there's grant money or anything like that, I don't want to try to put our eggs in that kind of a basket. We need to have it in place, and we need to move forward with our technology for our students. So that will be coming up as we talk about our bonds, and that will affect this budget. So we will have an amended budget if the board decides to sell bonds and for working cash purposes. So this is your tentative budget, and we would open it to the public for the public comment portion and board questions.
Okay, Randy Gibbs, 821 South Creve Coeur. Right now, just stick with the topic on the budget. If you follow the State Board of Education's rules, you're required to not only provide details about the budget during that hearing, you're supposed to allow the guests that show up to ask questions. That's per State Board of Education, if you were following your manuals. Also, if you follow page 17 of your current budget that you're considering tonight, if you look at items number 337, and 338, lines number 337 and 338 on page 17. I FOIA'd this information a while back on last year's budget. I asked for the receipts. That's an easy line to follow. And every dollar that you spent last year did not fall under the category 2530. It actually fell under 2540. The State Board of Education gives you instructions what you're supposed to do before you spend that money. And you're supposed to come in, take a vote, and move it to the line item. This isn't your home budget. You have rules that you're supposed to follow, just like our custodians have rules they're supposed to follow. So you're setting examples for them. Do we have to follow the rules? So tonight on the budget, on those receipts, I've seen repair bills and inspections. And those fall under that second category. Last year you budgeted $0. This year, that means you're not going to have anything inspected, the elevators, nothing's going to be inspected according to your budget, unless you amend your budget and put it in a proper line item, if you want to follow the state laws. And I have, again, those descriptions that define those two different line items. The second item that I want to discuss, and this has been going on for a couple of years now, it's time for this board to address this issue where the board has been claiming for 2 years you got money from the village. You never did get the money from the village. You had an expert here that night, Mr. Cahill, a business expert, told you to find out where that money is coming from. And 2 board members voted no on that budget. Well, I did my research and I've gone as far as, now I've gone to the village. You told the regional superintendent there was an intergovernmental agreement. And I got a copy of that document. First thing I noticed is nobody has signed it. And I FOIA'd it. I went through and seen several errors. And I referred to the Attorney General. So that's the one I went through. I gave you all copies of that agreement and everything else. The village didn't know what I was talking about. So I took them the documents that the school district provided, claiming that you got the money from them. And the village went through and started highlighting, this isn't ours. And in that letter from the village, it said, very simple, this copy of the unsigned form that you included in your FOIA request has several discrepancies and is not a Village of Creve Coeur agreement. That money never came from the village. It came from the property tax. It is time for this Board of Education, if you're responsible, to put the money in the funds where it belongs. Roughly, out of that $178,000, $80,000 goes into the education funds. Some of that funds, money, property tax, that was placed in the wrong funds, you're not allowed to transfer it or loan it. 4 of you sitting up there tonight needs to know exactly what was the board's intentions when they made that error, because 4 of you, next year, you have to answer that question. Do we return that money to the other accounts because it was a loan, or was it a permanent transfer? Some of that money has to go back there and stay. You're not allowed to borrow it or loan it out. Because you mislabeled the funds, it was misplaced. All of you there know this, you have those facts. I've been sending this information to you and the regional. You may have fooled her saying that you had an agreement, but you've seen the village still says you never got the money from them. And I'm looking at that budget. If anybody wants to see this before you vote tonight, right in that budget, when you approved putting the funds in the wrong location, you clearly marked on IS 2012, on page 5, other payments in lieu of taxes, $178,000, and then you have to reply where it was at. And those other payments in lieu of taxes was TIF refund. The village clearly and the county, and I've sent all this to you, you never got the money. It was property tax and it was not distributed to the proper funds. If this board votes on that and says we're going to leave it where it's at, we're not going to move it, why don't you have to follow the law? And why do we tell the employees and students, you got to follow our policies? You got plenty of time to start fixing this. If you all approve that tonight, it ain't going to make it.
Thank you.
I mean, I don't think you'll bring it back to the board. You've been ignoring this for 2 years. It's time to address it.
Comments from the table? I have one comment. Mislabeled, a FOIA, none of the FOIAs that the $50,000 plus that have been FOIA'd have come back on the district in the time that I've been sitting on this board.
I'm
None
sorry,
of
I didn't hear
them,
you.
I'm sorry, this
I
is,
didn't hear you.
none of them have come back stating that from professionals that set up these laws, that set up these policies with us, have told us that we have done anything wrong. In fact, all of them have been overturned, so we're following what the professionals have stated. Now, Mr. Aldridge, you want to address this?
These are all,
Because we have to vote on this tonight, and we need to have a clarity to that, please.
these are all things that were historical issues. These are all things that have cleared and passed through your auditors for the past number of years. There seems to be a difference of interpretation, a difference of understanding how the State Board of Education looks at the accounting. That money, everything that I read and the file that I have in my office that Mr. Giddens also has, it all indicates that the Board of Education could have taken two different approaches. It could have done what Mr. Giddens said, or it could have done what it did. And the board chose to take the action that it took. It's not a right or wrong. It's not you're breaking the law or anything like that. It has been looked at and has been vetted by numerous individuals. I don't know if you want me to spend more time on this to try to figure out what the issue might be. I've asked Mr. Giddens if he would want to come in and sit down and go through this to try to explain what the district did and why it has had the right and the authority to do that. He's declined my offer. I can't make somebody do anything. So, I can't reach out. I have reached out because I don't know that there's an issue. And it's gone up the line and up the line. So.
But the auditors have looked at it.
Our auditors, yes. The
From
auditors have.
from what I hear, this is from a budget 2 years ago? Not this current budget?
It's not
we're
this
talking
current
about?
budget, no, this is.
So that has nothing to do about this
12.
current budget?
Fiscal year 2012.
So we're discussing this current budget right now,
What
right?
he's saying is it could affect, to put it back now in this budget and make it right, is what he's saying.
But apparently it was,
It was done 2 years before we were on the board. I remember sitting in the audience hearing.
So the thing that you're proposing to do is to send the money back to the county.
No,
No,
he says put it in the
Move
right
it
line
onto a
item.
different line.
and then make motions to move it where it can legally be moved.
but it was already used and spent, correct?
Not necessarily.
But if an auditor, who is their job to be a CPA, a professional financial person, because I'm a nurse, I'm not a finance person. If a professional tells you it was done correctly, then I don't understand the question.
That guy Cahill was also a professional. Remember, he came to the board meeting, and he did say, you've got to find out where it came from. It depended on that.
And he also said a motion had to be made,
Right.
and that motion was never made that I'm aware of.
I mean, I understand where Mr. Giddens is coming from. It's like the $178,000. It should have been so much in the ed fund, so much in O&M, so much in transportation, because it was property tax.
So it
Regular
should be
tax
distributed
dollars.
as,
Having said that, I've also told Mr. Giddens, does it really make any difference because the money, it's not like it went anywhere. We have it, it went to the ed fund, it's going to the children. His point is, we are the Board of Education, we should be following the rules.
But we are following who we're hired to tell us, are we doing right? They, not only the ones we hired, there's not just one person here. We're talking about who he's filing complaints on us to. They're also saying they have done fine. The direction is fine. So.
We have something on there.
I mean.
So, okay,
Yeah,
so
nothing
my
has come
question,
back
so
on
my
us.
question is we pull out $178,000 out of our working cash and stick it on the right line?
No, it was put in the ed fund.
Out of the ed fund.
It was put, when we got that refund, it was all put in the ed fund and it's.
But it should have been split up from
No,
that.
I'm incorrect, I'm sorry. O&M? I don't know where it went.
This is supposed to be a hearing, and I can answer many of your questions if you want them answered.
I want them
We
answered.
have asked for the answers from our professionals that we
And your
hire.
professionals told you to distribute it.
And
Mr.
we
Cahill.
asked them where to distribute it. So we have got professionals.
Let's go back to Mrs. Bailey's comment. It's done, it's passed, it's over, we have the money, let's use it for the kids. That's what I would like to see.
Exactly, and you didn't do it that way. May I?
I
Mrs.
like to
Bailey?
hear,
I want to see where it went.
We've seen
we can
it.
get this over with.
Well, it's just like the
Okay,
parent
it
fund
went
money
into
that we
O&M.
gave back that they had, and then we gave that back too. So are we giving back?
You're not
No.
giving it, you're
No.
distributing it the correct way.
Simply moving it.
Yeah.
Into different
From a
parts.
2-year-old budget. That's what, we're discussing, this is a public hearing for
Yes.
this budget, right?
This
So, but
budget.
right now, he's discussing a 2-year-old budget.
But it still affects
May I
them.
answer, Mrs. True?
Let him answer.
No,
Julie.
Linda
Let's
just
all
answered.
do whatever
May
we
I
want
answer?
us to do.
Yes,
It's supposed
answer.
to be
Do whatever he
That I can
wants.
ask questions.
Yeah,
No, that's what he does want. Let's let him answer.
yeah,
No,
let's,
it's not a back and forth.
Yeah.
The money was
It's
not
not
put in the proper funds. If you're wanting to set an example for it, you put it in the proper funds, and if you need it back elsewhere, you have to publicly vote on it. You're wanting to skip a step. You don't want to tell the public, you took $80,000 from the education fund and put it here. We took so much from this fund and we put it here. You just want to move it. The state board has guidelines, mechanics of the school budget. It's right on their website, and it tells you what you have to do.
The state board has looked at it and has
But
stated
you also,
that
they have
we're
given a
fine.
copy of an agreement that is real.
They told us it was fine.
And I have not seen that from anything. Can I correct some statements? Can I correct some statements that you and Mr. Aldrich made tonight? May I?
Yes, go for it. Let's just get it done, please, because it's gonna
There's-
keep coming up at every meeting.
I think
There's
you're
nothing
right.
that can be done.
I think you're
There isn't
right.
anything that can be done.
Well, that's what I'm trying to understand. I'm not trying to argue with Randy or
Whether you
anything
call
else.
it
I
TIF
just
money or
want
you
to
call it
know
taxes, it's
why we're
there.
discussing a 2-year-old budget when this is supposed to be a hearing on a current budget.
Because if we want to move, if you want to make it right, then you have to move, now's the time to make the corrections to this budget, to move line items around, and, and we'd have to change all the figures and, come back and have another hearing, or,
Okay.
that kind of thing. So that's why it's relevant to this budget.
All right.
Thank you.
All right, where are we going?
So, opinion? Pam, you got an opinion? You're sitting there awful quiet.
I'd say fix it, be done with it, fix it, make it right, go on. Because
Make it according to Mr.
it's been an issue now for the past 2 years. If
Just
we
with
can,
Mr. Gibbons,
if we
not
can
with the
fix it.
state.
He's saying he got it off the website. He's not making
No,
this
no,
stuff
no.
up.
They have looked at it. They have looked at it.
But
He
he's
sent them
right.
into
We
them.
sent him an intergovernmental agreement that was never signed by the village. They said the reason that we did this is because we got money from the village. See, this is agreement. And the village
They
is like,
looked at all of that in
the
his
village
FOIA.
is like, don't know what you're talking about.
He sent it into the state's attorney sent it
It's
back.
not over with.
It
It is over.
According to us, he's gonna file again.
He's gonna get the same response. The
Mrs.
state is
Strong,
gonna
I've never got a
say.
response,
We
and
have.
I'm tired of that.
I didn't
We've
see
got
the response.
responses on all the FOIAs.
I haven't seen it.
Really? You
No,
get,
not on
you
that.
get responses on all of
Then
them.
why don't you
And
pass them on to
especially
the
on
rest of the
2
board?
years ago, you got the responses.
Okay, might even before I was
Because
on
they're
the board,
done,
could be correct.
they're over, they're complete, they've told us, go on, it's fine.
I've never seen it. I'm not saying
Why
you didn't get
haven't
it,
you
but
ever seen them?
not on this. I just haven't. Did it come in an email, in a packet?
Probably.
It was in an email.
Was it before we were seated?
I don't think so.
Well, you weren't on 2 years ago.
That's what I'm
Pretty
saying,
sure,
so
but
was
it's
it
hard to
before we
remember
were
from
seated?
2 years ago.
Well, and I went to the TIF hearing, and the attorneys were there, and they explained that they charged the TIF the 1 year, and they held the money, and it shouldn't have been. And you know how our taxes are all distributed into different funds, we levy those percentages. Okay, so that 1 year, all this money's sitting there, they give it back. Okay, in a normal year, so much goes into the ed fund, so much into the O&M, we can only levy up to a certain percent. So that was the money that was sitting there. If they would have given it back the year that we should have gotten it, it would have went into all the different accounts. Okay, so I get that. I think it should have been, as a board, I was on the board then, we weren't asked, what do you want to do with it? It was put in to the O&M so that the budget would balance, it wasn't, you weren't asked. Whoever did the budget, put it there. Okay. Now, no, it was not you, no, it was not you. I don't even know.
I've been
that
blamed
it
for
was
enough
called-
tonight.
No, I don't even know that it was called to your attention. I remember asking Guy Cahill the question, and he said, you're gonna have to find out, where did that money come from? It depends. Where did the money come from?
And that's
So now
when we
we
brought
know.
in the professionals, the next meeting, I clearly remember, they were brought in and they talked to us again about the same issue and stated that, just as Mr. Aldridge just stated tonight, there's more than one way to do things. And our records would prove to be okay.
Okay, is that the time that the auditor came to the board meeting?
There,
Okay, see, I don't remember asking him that question. I remember
That's why
asking
he
Andy
came.
Brandt.
that's why he came. He was trying to
Okay, what
clear
was
up
his
this
answer?
issue. I just stated.
That it was okay.
There's more than one way to do things, and what the board has done was fine, it was clear, and the states agreed. So why are we having this? You know, like Mrs. Troop says, we're trying to get through this year's budget. We're trying to get through many other issues.
Well, and to quote Linda, you said, the money was there, it was spent on the kids, it's done, it's over with, can we move on?
I'm not adamant about it, you know, I know what he's saying, we are the ones that set the example, we are to follow the rules, that's where it starts. But there's no missing money, we don't have to send any back. It's there, we have it, it's being spent on the kids, so I can see both sides of it. I
So
don't really
is
have
it
an
gonna
issue.
change a whole lot if we move some dollars around from line to line?
You have to,
Yeah, go ahead.
No, before we did anything like that, I would want the auditor to be involved in
Yes.
any kind of decision, and so that we know what we're doing here. Because you start moving stuff around, and then the State Board of Education will start looking under the hood. And we don't want them here if we don't have to have them here. Not that we don't, not that we have anything, we're doing anything wrong, but, you know, I don't need them sitting in my office for 3 weeks. Okay, so it's the same thing with all of it. It just is taking a lot of time. I can copy that, all of that stuff for the TIF thing, give it to everybody. I think everybody has it. If you don't, you know, I'll just copy Mr. Giddens' FOIA file and you can have everything. I don't know what to tell you. It says TIF, it came from TIF, it came from a county that said TIF. You got the money and you were told that you could use it and put it into whichever funds were of the most need, and that's where it went. Whether I don't think it was tax money. It wasn't real estate tax money.
It wasn't TIF.
It was.
It was TIF.
No, it was real estate.
I don't see anything that says that.
the they explained that they charged TIF an extra year. Yeah.
Right. And
By
they shouldn't
mistake.
have charged
Instead of
us.
32 years, it was 33 years, I
So
believe.
that's why the taxes went up and then we got the money. Because the tip did.
It was one
Mrs.
property tax.
Right.
Okay,
Is that
but it was on the
something-
TIF district, it wasn't on
Yeah, it wasn't.
personal property. It wasn't on your house, it
Yes.
was
It
on the
was
TIF
on
money.
houses.
It was in the TIF district.
No, it was on all the property located in the TIF district,
Right,
sir.
and some were houses.
He just said that.
Yep.
Sounds like,
If you would like, I could give you a TIF class next meeting.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know enough about it. I mean,
Some of the houses were in
Mrs. Strong, can I correct some errors so the board's looking home with the wrong
Yeah,
impression?
right now, thank you.
What is it the board would like me to do? Because we have this budget. If you would like this to be addressed, like I said, I'm not going to, I'm not comfortable just making changes here tonight and changing money around. I want to have our auditor be involved in this, and I can't tell you what that expense is going to be, but it, you know, auditors are like attorneys. We charge a lot of money, so, you know, just know that. And
To make that go away
well-
on that issue for the 2012, I would like that to be handled by our auditor, and I would like to finalize this budget tonight.
It was handled.
but we
by
can't
our-
finalize
We
the
can't
budget
finalize the
tonight.
budget if you're wanting to change it and you're talking, the
We could do
auditor
it in
charged
amendment.
us.
we would, you could adopt this one tonight, and
We can do an
with
amendment.
with the understanding that you're getting the auditor involved, and there
Again.
would be an amendment, so.
But Mrs. Strong, some of us weren't on the board at that time. I honestly don't remember the auditor addressing that.
Well, I'm sure you'd like to go back a 4-year period and do a lot of adjustments, but we've got this time to do it. We'd like to go back and do a lot of corrections also, but we don't. We have things to address now. And it's been done. That is what's so disturbing here. We have the auditor involved.
So
We have more than the auditor involved.
it sounds to me like that paperwork that you're referring to, Mr. Aldridge, maybe needs to be provided. I mean, I'm sure it's available in the office if anybody wants to go look at it. Or anybody doesn't remember an email.
The minutes reflect it.
So, I don't know, I guess.
There's
Before we spend any
2012.
money on an auditor, my opinion is before we spend any more money on an auditor, maybe we should look at the auditor's report from 2 years ago.
Or something from the state. Maybe I just didn't get it. If you guys have it, apparently I didn't. You know, that says the state looked into this, the 178,000 is where it belongs. I mean, if you've got
They have
something.
to answer all FOIAs. Mr. Giddens has sent in over $40,000 worth of FOIAs on the district
Oh, Lord.
charges. And we had to have answers back. The state has answered every one of
Did
those
they
back.
close it then? They closed the
Yes,
case?
they closed
Okay,
it.
all you have to do is send me that letter.
Okay, there
Okay.
you go.
May I ask one more question for this budget hearing? Or are you gonna close this hearing?
All right, they said go.
You said the Attorney General's been answering it. I've been waiting for answers. Mr. Aldridge told you a year ago, you got an answer on 2. One OMA, one FOIA. The OMA is you didn't have to publish it on your website, and the FOIA was settled because you turned over the documents. Multiple times I've gone to the Attorney General's because the board refused to give me the documents. In fact, I couldn't find out what's going on with these bids because I can't remember the section, but somehow I would harm the bidding process if you turned them over to me. I'm trying to find out what the differences were. But this budget, and you're sitting there telling everybody and trying to convince that Board of Education that the Attorney General has done it, board, force your board president to show you all those documents and force her to show you that $40,000 bill on those FOIAs.
We haven't.
And you wouldn't have to go to the Attorney General's office if you would turn the FOIA request
It
over to
was
the
in
General.
our budgeting. You can look in our budgeting when we paid the bills.
But it doesn't mean it came from Randy.
Yes, it does. The
No, it
report
doesn't.
was that,
I I'm sorry, Mrs.
You weren't on the board. The report was this thick. We were given all the
I
FOIAs.
FOIA'd, she FOIA'd, he
No, you
FOIA'd.
only had a couple. He's the one that's had this big of a staff.
And that's his right as a citizen.
That's right.
It is. But maybe the district needs to,
Maybe the district needs to do
tell
what they're
that
supposed to be doing.
he's so concerned about our financial status, that, you know, we spend this kind of money on covering it.
She said 2 years ago.
Maybe I need to run for the board again.
Yes, I agree.
Thank you.
I have a suggestion, maybe.
Okay.
I don't know if everybody agrees with this or not, but since Mr. Cahill was at that meeting when he was asked, could we have Mr. Aldridge maybe call him?
That's what they said.
Oh, okay, I didn't hear that.
No.
That's what Julie said.
No.
Check into what was said, what was
No,
done.
I said we need to look at the records to
Right.
see
Before we
if-
pay to the
before we
auditor.
paid for any more expense on this, we need
Okay.
to look at the actual records,
So you're
find the
checking
proof
with
of right
them.
of it done.
Yeah.
Not necessarily checking with them yet.
If you said it's in the minutes, we'll just
It's
bring the
on,
minutes.
it's on tape, you could go watch the tapes where he says that, but I think that's where we need to start. If it's right the way it is, I'm good with it. If
Before we
should go
spend
back-
any extra money on
Right.
this, you
Right.
know, we're
Because
trying
you
to
know what
save
the
money.
auditor
Right, and it
charges.
wouldn't cost anything, is what I'm thinking.
So,
If he comes to the meeting,
Well, he came to our meeting and he never charged us.
Okay.
Really?
I think he did.
Really?
Yeah. Look at,
Mrs. Davis said it was free.
yeah, who does anything for free, really?
I'm just saying what we were
The
told.
7 of us, apparently.
I thought it was free.
Yeah.
Okay.
maybe it was included in that bill that they give you at the end, because that's a hefty bill.
But if it's in the minutes, and Mrs. Strong says she's already got the documents that says that we've done the right
I don't
thing.
have them, this school district has.
Okay, well, let's get it from the school district, then it can be a closed issue.
Okay. That, it sounds like we have a directive. And if
Do
we.
you know what your directive is?
I believe I'm going to cull the files for the TIF files that we had. I will scan all the documents and send them to each Board of Education members so that you have them for your review.
And a letter from the state that says that they're done with it.
I don't know, that's it, the whole file, okay?
Okay.
And I really hope that you would believe me that
I do believe.
I
do
do
believe you.
give every information, and I do respond to FOIAs, and I do give public documents when it's appropriate, and I follow the law, and that's why it was denied, because I was following the law, okay?
Yeah, on a bid proposal, you can't.
Right. So, you know, there's Mr. Giddens chastising me to follow the law, and he wants me to bend the rules for him.
No, I
So-
apologize, it wasn't so much you, it was prior to you becoming
Okay,
superintendent.
okay,
I will
yeah.
apologize.
Right, this is
All right.
Yeah,
I
this
Let
is
it go.
years
down
ago.
the line and you said you had a legitimate reason.
It's been since I've gotten here that
No, I just
everything
meant
is
what
snowballed.
Mrs. Strong is
Sure.
saying.
Yeah,
That budget.
all the stuff happened then. I'm dealing with the aftermath, and that's
But if she had it from 2
frustrating.
years ago, you won't have to deal with it. I mean, if it's in the office.
Oh, yeah, I we got, find it.
Okay,
Good, good,
can we
good.
move forward?
Is it done? Is it done with Mr. Giddens? Or is it done with you, guys?
It's done with us. If it's in the office from 2 years ago, there's no reason why we have to have
Okay,
this
so he
conversation.
has a directive on it. So next, is there another public person to speak? Right? Okay. Anybody else gonna speak publicly on the budget? Hearing none? Let's move forward. Sorry, I'm sorry, it's, you know, come on.
We need a motion.
Yes, they're, F1.
All right, then we need a motion, please, for F1.
Somebody,
We have to vote on it.
Don't you
They're out
have
there
to
playing with their phones.
Adjourn the public hearing.
Not on here. Am I adjourning the public
You
hearing?
need a motion to accept the budget.
Yep. That's what he
We just said that on F1, motion.
Oh, they already did it.
No, we're asking for a motion. Look at F1.
I know, but my question is, do we adjourn the public hearing first?
Yes, you do.
And then we do. F1.
Yes, you do.
Yes.
It's not on our agenda, but if you do it necessarily,
Yeah.
we'll do it.
But
Not everything's.
I'm pretty sure
Let's
you
see
have
if I
to
can
adjourn
tell
the
the
public
time
hearing.
correct.
Yes.
8:24, we're adjourning the public hearing on the school year 2015 budget. Therefore, we're moving on to FY. We need a motion, please.
We have to call the regular
Oh.
meeting to order.
Okay.
Because otherwise they're going, these are public hearings, Judy, they're not the regular meeting.
So what?
So it's
Okay.
public hearings within the regular meeting. Go ahead.
I just want to save us another OMA.
All right, we'll go with calling the Board of Education regular meeting, Creve Coeur School District 76 to order on September 16, 2014 at 8:25. Roll call. We've done our pledge, let's do roll call again.
Linda Bailey. Pam Griner. Here. Brenda Cagle. Val Reagan. Julie Troop.
Here.
Rebecca Kern here. Judy Strong.
Yes. Okay, now we're at F1. We're needing a motion to adopt.
Make a motion to adopt resolution 14-05, resolution to adopt the budget for fiscal year 2015.
Thank you. A second, please.
I second.
Thank you. Discussion? Further discussion? Hearing none, roll call please.
Linda Bailey.
No.
Pam Griner.
Nope.
Brenda Cagle.
Aye.
Val Reagan.
No.
Julie Troop.
Aye.
Rebecca Kern. Aye. Judy Strong.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Moving on to our results driven. Mr. Aldridge, back to you please.
Sure. We have some really great things. Besides all the bickering that we do here, there's really good things going on in the schools. The kids, luckily, they don't have to get involved in all of this, and they can be, in school and show success and that excitement about being here. And I'm going to call Mr. McCormick to tell us some really good news, some awesome news. Awesome is my word, so we have some awesome news from Mr. McCormick.
Can I use the podium?
Yeah,
Please.
why not? It's here.
Just thought it'd be fun.
Yeah.
All right.
That's okay.
So I was using my school voice. In the last month at LaSalle, it's been a lot of fun getting to know all the parents, all the students, and the wonderful staff that we have there. In the last month, we had a visit from Toby Tyer, which was kind of unexpected, but he had a last-minute cancellation, and so we brought Toby Tyer in. For those of you not familiar with Toby Tyer, it is sponsored by our Secretary of State, Jesse White's office, and it promotes school bus safety. We had two different assemblies, one for our K2 students, which was emceed by Mr. Aldridge, and one for our 3rd and 4th grade students, which was emceed by myself. And two different programs, oriented a little bit differently. For the younger kids, it's more school safety. For the older kids, it's a little more school safety, but also kind of being that leadership role, which is really nice to encourage them to show the younger kids the right way to do things. And for those of you who aren't familiar with Toby the Tyer, he is a robot, and the kids really like him. He dances and he talks and he interacts with the MC of the program, and kids all really liked him. We also completed our PBIS Refresher Week, going back with all of the students, different stations, going through the different areas, and reminding them what our expectations are for them. And those, in general, were taught by people that they're not usually accustomed to seeing every day. For example, I was in charge of the playground. One of our special ed teachers did, the gymnasium. So they weren't hearing it from the usual people that they hear it from. They're hearing it from another voice, which is good. It helps them absorb it a little bit better. Map testing and Ames web testing is just about wrapping up. If it's not completed tomorrow, it'll be done by the end of the week for sure. And we've got building as well as district meetings set up for next week to review those results so that we can move forward with the RTI program, or RTI interventions that we have in place. Also, our LaSalle fundraiser ends this week, and the Parents Club is hoping to raise enough money to add a few more smart boards to the couple remaining classrooms that do not have them. We did, at LaSalle, receive a donation from one of the OSF offices. And I guess, as I understand it, during the summer, they kind of do a Jean Day Friday collection, and as well as collect school supplies. And I happen to, my daughter's friends with a girl whose mom decided, you know, we always do these Peoria schools, let's think outside the box. And so since we had a connection there, she dropped off 3 nice boxes of school supplies and a check for $500. So, and that check will help to supply our PBIS store, and it will also go towards school supplies that we need them at the mid-year or for next year, so we're a little better prepared than we were kind of scrambling this year. And thanks to Patty Smallberger for all the scrambling she did in that regard.
Could we get the address of that, maybe, and have the folks in the bank on behalf of the board?
On behalf of the board?
Yes.
Absolutely. And then the last thing I had was that, and this is kind of looking ahead, but our book fair is coming up the week of October 6th, and this is in conjunction with Grandparents' Day. I believe invitations went out at the end of last week to the families to bring the grandparents by grade on an individual day, so kindergarten Monday, first grade Tuesday, et cetera, on through the week. They all come in, have lunch with their children, or grandchildren, I should say, and then have the opportunity to visit the book fair as well. So that's coming up the week of October 6th, which is also Fire Safety Week, and we've got the firemen coming in that week too, so it's going to be a heck of a week. Any questions for me?
I just want to make a comment to you, Mr. McCormick. I just want to let you know, I've heard from multiple parents, multiple grandparents, that they like seeing you out and about, they like meeting you, and they appreciate that you're visible. So,
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate the feedback.
And I'm glad to hear you're having the grandparents come in to eat. That's great.
I heard it from a few different grandparents that they missed that last year, and so we're going to give it a shot and see if we can't make it work better than even before.
Good.
And if we
Glad
need
to
any
hear that.
substitute grandparents, we'd be happy to volunteer.
Okay, I've got a few. How about a few substitute grandparent day helpers?
That's
That'd
fine
be
too.
great. Let us know.
All right, appreciate that. Anything else?
Thank you, Mr. McCormick. There was some great things, especially really surprised at the check from OSF, and want to do that. Is the board wanting to have all the board members individually sign this card, or do you want to just, Mr. McCormick, just to send it out on behalf of the Board of Education?
That'd be fine.
I would think it could come from the school kids, you know, like from, and everybody, not just the
The whole
board of
district.
education.
You
Yeah.
want to sign the card, Bill?
It's not-
No.
No.
I just want to make sure they know it was appreciated by everyone.
Right, that was in the process. I just wanted to make sure what you actually wanted.
That's fine.
All right, Mr. Jokish, good things at Parkview. I know that there's some awesome stuff going on over there.
Yeah, it's been an awesome continued start to the school year. Tomorrow marks the end of the first midterms, the midterm grading period, so we're like 1/8 done with the school year already, so it's just flying by as it usually does. One thing I'm very happy about with the teaching staff is we're having monthly collaboration meetings. Last year we worked really hard in terms of aligning our math and language arts, aligning that to the Illinois learning standards, and the teachers did a great job with that. The trouble with that is there wasn't a whole lot of time for collaboration. A lot of it was individuals doing that on their own. So this year we're really focusing on collaboration, and for reading and math, getting together once a month and talking about, here's what I'm doing in 5th grade, here's what I'm doing in 6th grade. This is when I'm teaching it, this is how it's aligned, this is what's working. So I'm just happy that we're able to have that time this year to do that. And this year we're going to be we're in the process of adopting the Illinois Science Standards. So we're sending Stacy Starman and Sarah Beal to East Peoria, I think 6 times. We're collaborating with them, partnering with them to align our science standards. And also we're having monthly encore meetings, which are encore groups where we provide a lot of our interventions for reading and math. And I know the group met this week for looking at data in terms of the MAP scores that just came out that we just completed last Tuesday. So collaboration is kind of the theme for this year with our teaching staff. Extracurriculars, we have a lot of extracurriculars starting off. The baseball team just lost tonight. They ended their season at regionals. You might have heard their bus pulling up here. We lost 8-3, so their season's over. However, we're kicking off the girls' basketball season. We have our first game next week. Student councils, we had our elections for that. And the drama program met last Monday, and I know I walked through, there was at least 60 kids in there, so we've got a big turnout for that. So that's great. I got to throw a shout out to the PACE group. We had picture day today, and we had volunteers helping out with that. And they purchased some fans for the building when it was really hot. And also, there's a fundraiser tomorrow night at Mickey's Pizza from 5 to 8. And we had the PACE meeting last Tuesday, and so after I said, hey, I'll send out an alert now for that to make sure everybody knows. And so I set that up last Wednesday, and a time popped up, and it said Tuesday. I wanted it for Tuesday, and 6 o'clock popped up, so I hit 6 o'clock, and that's why everybody's phones were going off simultaneously here. So I'll have to check my calendar before I send that out. So that's all I have.
Not on board nights, Mr. Jokish, not on board nights.
Not on board
Mine
nights.
went off too, but.
Yeah, mine was going off, and I'm going, what is that? Thank you.
Mr. Jokish, I'd like to just make a comment to you too.
Regarding the principals.
Is this as bad as?
No, I just want to tell the board what a great job Mr. Jokes is doing. He's out there every morning when the buses come. If we have a problem, he's right there to correct it. And as bus drivers, we appreciate that. And Mr. McCormick, I've had one incident with 2 little boys fighting, but I talked to him about it, and he talked to the boys and talked to the parents. So I'm sure he's going to be good too. And I just wanted the board to know that.
Thank you.
I didn't know whether I had to say anything right this minute or not, but
We like
Thank you very much.
We like good things,
Thank
we'll
you.
take praise. And this is another praise, everybody knows I live down the street, and I have a lot of walkers walk by me, and I will tell you, the kids are behaving unbelievably. They're like total night and day from last year. They are on the sidewalks, they are walking, they are not gathering and having little tiffs at the community center. They are walking home, and I'm loving it.
Good.
You can drive down the street without dodging bicyclists going in and out, and I don't know whether it has a lot to do with the PBIS here, and I'm sure it does, but I think the local police department's been kind of involved a little bit too, and I'm as a person that lives on the street, I love it.
Bring that up, Mr. Jokish, about the police department. About the police department.
For the speeders?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I just asked them to if they could kind of hang out in the mornings and watch for speeders, and they're great.
I asked them to.
Did you? Good.
Yeah, because they were flying by my house, and I said, this has got to stop. These kids got to be safe. So it's come from all directions, apparently.
Good. The officer
I think
the sign helps.
The sign helps, I think.
The problem is it's not right here, though. It's further down. Like down by where I live, these kids are walking, through all there, and the stop sign slows people down. But past the stop sign,
Yeah, the
Man,
sidewalks are not great by any means. for
people
kids to
are
walk
flying
on.
still, so, but the kids are behaving.
Good, thank you.
Great. All right, good to hear. Good to hear. For superintendents, you can see as we go into our budget and we'll start into our TIF and our tax season, you can see that the Tazewell County Supervisor of Assessments has provided us with our current 2014 EAV for our taxing district. So we are at $58,834,098 dollars for our assessed evaluation, equalized assessed valuation for all of the properties within our taxing district. So there are 177,880 property dollars put into the property rolls for the first time. So those are added in there, and that'll come out to just about $60 million, which is fairly close to what our EAV was last year. So we can be encouraged that our tax base is not really eroding. It's been pretty stable for the past 5 years. So as has student enrollment has been on the decline, but only at a marginal rate of about 2% for the past couple years. So overall, the district is sitting pretty stable, and that is a good indicator of where our financial aspects are going to come from for our levy coming up. So next is our facilities and our maintenance grant. We submitted our final expenditure report for the 2012 maintenance grant. This was a matching fund grant, of which the district had pledged $50,000 of matching funds, and for the State Board of Education's $50,000. And you can see that there were a number of items and projects that were listed in this maintenance grant. So these were the things that we were to focus on with this money. Many of these things were done prior to the maintenance grant being submitted. So some of the things that were on the project list had already been completed, and so there was no cost to them. That's why you see the zeros in a number of these project areas. There was no cost to us on number 4, which is the first zero on your page. Number 4, room 148 needs an exit light, directional arrow. Punch out the directional arrow in existing fixture. Well, at Parkview Junior High School, room 148 had an exit sign, and the little arrow wasn't punched out. We punched it out, and it didn't cost us anything. So it's a zero. And but you can see that in the maintenance grant, it was listed as a $50 cost. Well, obviously our maintenance person is not making $50 an hour or $50 for 3 minutes to punch out a directional arrow. So it all blended in, and it became a zero cost. So because of that, the number of things that were already completed or completed internally, the district's actual project cost was $50,468. All right, that's what we spent to finish and complete the maintenance grant work that was listed here. You can't add to the grant, you can take away, you don't have to do a project, but you cannot add, you can't use that money for anything else. It is specifically for these projects listed in this grant. The fact is that the State Board of Education had already distributed the $50,000 to the board, to the district. So we spent $50,468, half of which is $24,766, which we are owing to the State Board of Education, and I forgot that that was also one of the items that I put back into the budget, into the operation and maintenance. That's why it was increased so much. So that this was covered and accounted for. So at some point, the State Board of Education will be sending us a letter and asking us to return $24,766 that they gave us 2012. Right.
And like you said, the grant stated what we had to do. We couldn't add projects to that. Is that correct?
That is correct. What was listed here from our architect were the only projects that could be addressed with this maintenance grant money. That was it. So when it was submitted, this is what was seen as need in the district. I'm assuming, and some of these things were significant needs. But also, we were able to, you can see the last line item, number 29 at LaSalle Elementary School, on the third page there, is the bathroom remodeling. And you can see that the original, or the estimated cost in 2012 was $31,500. But if you go across to the last box, you'll see that we were able to complete the project at $20,445. So even though it looks like we're sending back money, we actually didn't spend money, is the way to look at it. We didn't have to spend money. And we got a number of these things done without having actual costs. I'm sorry?
It's even with those faucets that you...
Yes, the hand-free, the touchless faucets, yes, yeah. All of that, and the fluorine and the asbestos and all of those things.
Especially the girls' bathroom, the flooring looks really nice.
Yeah, they did a great job.
There's
what?
There's 8 buckets under the wash, the basins. Why is there buckets under
There are
They
buckets, no. There is because those are single direction faucets, okay? It seems that some of the children were curious as to some of the things that were happening, and they turned the water on, and so there was water squirting out, and so we had to adjust that, but the plumber is coming out to address that. So, curious little children. And Mr. McCormick had to man the mop and clean up a little mess there. There was a little flood in the girls' bathroom. But linoleum, so it was taken care of. Yeah.
So 11,000 of it, 24,000 returning was actually a savings. I want to thank you for that. I'm sure your input and directives helped be frugal for the district.
Okay, are we all finished with the life safety? It's done? Everything's done that was on the list?
There
ABC.
There are a few more items that I have to discuss with the architect because I believe they are finished, but there are things that he's gonna have to tell me they're finished because I just don't know. So as soon as Larry the architect comes out and does his final walk, then we'll know that we're complete with our life safety. That's my goal.
Isn't next year another one?
No, 16.
16.
Yeah,
Okay.
2016, we will have another 10-year survey. And at that time, we'll want to investigate different architectural services that we can talk about later. So, Mrs. Strong, those were the two items that I had on my report.
So going on, thank you for providing those to the board. We need a motion for the consent agenda, please.
I make a motion to approve the consent agenda consisting of the school activity reports, board meeting minutes, payments list, and treasurer's report.
I will say that there are two corrections that were found that need to be made to the minutes as proposed. On August 19th, board minutes on page 3, on item I2, the comparison of custodial services, VSI Incorporated, the second amount is incorrect. There is a 3 missing, so it should be $333,455. Okay, so it's just, there was a 3 that was missing. And on September 2nd, meeting minutes on page 3 again, action item G1, to approve the change in the taxing boundaries. The second line under discussion, Pekin Marquette Heights property was not touching any other Creve Coeur property, and to insert that, at that, or in between, insert the words school district between, right after Creve Coeur, so that it would read Creve Coeur School District property.
I thought you said in the meeting wasn't touching any other Creve Coeur property. Is there a difference between Creve Coeur property and Creve Coeur School District property?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. But I thought at that meeting it said Creve Coeur property.
No, it said school district property.
It's
The maps.
Yeah. Oh, it's still in Creve Coeur?
the address is Creve Coeur. It's in Creve Coeur Township, or I don't know if it's township, the village limits.
But it's Pekin School District.
Right.
Or
Market Heights, yeah.
It doesn't touch our school
district.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so that's a clarification, not touching any other Creve Coeur School District property, rather than just Creve Coeur property, such as real estate.
It is Creve Coeur property.
Because it is Creve Coeur, yes, exactly. So with those changes, with corrections, sorry, Mrs. Strong.
Thank you, so do we need a motion for that?
So I'm gonna amend the motion to approve the consent agenda consisting of the school's activity reports, board meeting minutes, payments list, and treasurer's report with corrections.
I second.
No further discussion? Okay.
Minutes are much, much better than past. They're giving more detail, more clarification. Personally, I don't care for the format they're in, but I can live with it. So whoever's doing the minutes,
Holly, thank you. All right, having said that, no further comments from the board table. Roll call, please.
Linda Bailey,
I,
Pam Griner,
No.
Brenda Cagle,
Aye.
Val Reagan,
No.
Julie Troop,
Aye.
Rebecca Kern, aye, Judy Strong.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Then we're moving on to action item I1, please. Motion.
I make a motion to approve the certified teaching staff evaluation instrument.
I second.
No, this is just a clarification because there was a mention of the committee to develop a plan for the teacher evaluation back in 2012. It was just thought that it'd be cleaner and clearer to have a formal board discussion and vote on the teaching staff evaluation instrument that was provided last week, 2 weeks ago, sorry.
So nothing's changed, we're just going to vote on it.
Nothing has changed at all from the copies that were given last board meeting. And you can see I included a page of the meeting minutes, and it's item E6, motion to approve new teacher evaluation tool given by Julie Troop and seconded by Rebecca Kern. Law requires that a new system evaluation be adopted and that a committee come together to design that evaluation. So this evaluation instrument is the fruition and result of that directive.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call please.
Linda Bailey.
Ms. Troop and seconded by Ms. Cagle.
Aye.
Pam Griner.
Aye.
Brenda Cagle. Val Reagan. Julie True.
Aye.
Rebecca Kern. Aye. Judy Strong.
Yes,
Motion carried.
thank you. Mr. Aldridge, we're coming back to you for board communications, please.
Yes, board communications. This month we had 2 FOIA requests and district responses. As was alluded to earlier, Mr. Giddens had requested bid documents from 2 vendors who had submitted proposals for the outsourcing, but that request was denied because those documents are exempt from disclosure under the Freedom of Information Act. And once the board makes a final vote or determination on the issue, at that point, those documents would become disclosed. Next was a policy group called Education Matters. This is a not-for-profit group that requested several documents related to the teachers' union determination, or their documentation regarding fair share fees in our district. It was submitted to them in a timely manner, and they got their information. It's unfortunate that under the law we can't ask them why you want this information, why do you want this document? Because I'd really like to know, what are they looking for?
How far back did it have to go?
I'm sorry?
How far back were you supplying it? Let's see how
Just
far
this
back.
year.
This year.
Yeah, we just gave them the current year.
Okay.
Yep. So those were the 2 board communications.
Thank you. It is time for us to have a motion for executive session, please. Reading the book.
I make a motion to enter into closed session for collective negotiation matters between the public body and the School Service Personnel Association, employment of specific employees of the public body, and litigation when an action against affecting or on behalf of the public body has been filed and is pending in court or administrative tribunal.
Thank you. Second, please.
Second.
Thank you. Discussion of any sort? Okay. Pardon?
Did she
Yeah.
say executive session?
Yes, she did.
We always ask for a discussion. Roll call.
Linda Bailey.
Aye.
Pam Griner.
Aye.
Brenda Cagle. Val Reagan. Julie True. Rebecca Kern. No. Judy Strong.
Yes, we'll
Motion
dismiss
carried.
at 8:57. Need a motion please, to return to regular session.
I make the motion to resume regular session.
Second.
Thank you. And that will be at 9:37, am I right?
Yeah.
All right, roll call please.
Linda Bailey.
Aye.
Pam Kerner.
Aye.
Brenda Cagle. Val Reagan. Julie True. Rebecca Kern. Judy Strong.
Yes.
Motion carried.
On M1, we're gonna table that for this evening. And so we now need a motion for adjournment, please.
I make the motion to adjourn.
Second.
Thank you. Roll call please.
Linda Bailey.
Aye.
Pam Kerner. Brenda Cagle. Val Reagan. Julie True. Rebecca Kern. Judy Strong.
Yes.
Motion carried.